The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. Well, hopefully you out there are plenty of workers and you're ready to make a great harvest of disciples. But what is a harvest and why are we talking about it? Well, today I have a couple of crafts to remind students of what it means that we are called to build, bear, pick, and plant spiritual fruit, in a manner of speaking. And when we are harvesting things, we are working to help spread the good news of the gospel and to share God's love with one another. So I have a fun and flexible craft and a very simple, basic craft for you today to go with that harvest theme. The first thing we're going to do involves fruit. So what you will need for this is you are going to need some actual fruits that are cut up. Now, there's a variety you can use. We'll talk about that in a moment. You're also going to need some paint or stamping ink, but paint really works best. And most definitely you will need some paper for this. I like to use a nice long piece of paper so you can get lots of stamping on it. And we're going to make some fruit art. So we're going to be painting and stamping our fruit all over the paper, and we're going to be as creative and have as much fun as you can with it. You might also want some markers if you would like to make a caption on your art to remind yourself of why there's a bunch of random fruit painted all over the place. So again, starting from the top, you will need your paper. I highly recommend some sort of a smock or protective gear of some sort because, let's face it, paint inevitably makes a mess. And like I said, the best kind of paint you're going to want to use is some kind of just a regular tempera paint or something that's washable, but I do not recommend watercolor for this, and I definitely don't recommend marker for this because you are using fruit as your method of artwork, basically. So again, you will need some various fruits. What I have here, I have a pear that's been cut. I have an apple. I happen to use grapes, which make little tiny dots. Some of them I cut in half, some of them are whole. I've got banana slices, and if you have banana peels, you could even paint with the banana peels. Strawberries work really well for this. Oranges and lemons and limes work really well. You can use whatever kind of fruit you like. But you are going to first carefully have an adult chop the fruit, cut it in half. And again, that's up to you too, how you want your fruit shape to be. For instance, I like the apples to be cut in half the way where you have the little star in the center. Maybe you want to cut your berries, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to do some of both and just experiment and have fun with it. Once you've got your fruit prepared, you're going to squirt a little bit of paint onto paper plate or into a bowl. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. So once you squirt your paint, you can, of course, use as many colors as you like. Now, you can smush the fruit directly into the paint and then use the fruit as your vehicle for stamping all over the paper. By the way, if you're going to put a caption on, you probably want to do that first before it's covered in fruit paint and possible pulpy goop. You never know. So if you've got something small, maybe you could even use a toothpick or a little stem, and you can just roll it right in the paint and then glop it onto your paper. However, that is not always the most efficient method. It can also be useful to take a paintbrush and actually put the paint onto the fruit itself. I find for larger pieces of fruit, this works well to make sure that you completely coat the surface. Another tip for this is that if you cut your fruit a day ahead of time, that will make it a little bit more ready to soak up the paint because it's going to be drier. If your fruit is very juicy, it's going to be a little tricky to paint it, and it's going to be more fruit juice than paint that you're getting all over your paper. So you might want to, if you've got a lemon or an orange especially, a real juicy fruit, you might want to let it sit for a little bit so that it can really soak up that paint. So then once you've got it all nice and covered in the paint, you're going to stamp it onto your paper. And you can just make one single stamp. You can do, obviously that one did not come off very well. You can do a whole bunch of stamps all over the place and just blop, blop, blop. Or if your kids want to just smear and smush the paint all over, maybe you've got toddlers and they just like getting messy with paint. That's fine too. And so then your end result, now this is pretty simple basic version. I did not use multiple colors, but I've got my apple, I've got my pear, grapes, bananas, and it's also handy if you label this. If you want to put a little, arrow that says this one is a strawberry, this one is a blueberry, that will kind of refresh your memory of what in the world are all these blobs and why are all these blobs here. And so you can add your handwritten or your typed up caption on the top there or on the bottom or on the side or whatever, and there you have your fun fruit art. So that is craft number 1. Craft number 2 for our harvest celebration. This is something that you can do. It's fun to do at maybe like a fall or even a winter time of year as well, or any time of year really. But we're going to make some pine cone people. Now bear with me. We're going to make pine cone people to remind us that just as we are planting this harvest of believers, pine cones are actually big seeds. So they fall off of the pine trees and then they can plant themselves to grow more trees and to spread their little seeds all over the place. Now, dual purpose, because we're talking about how God wants us to love all people. Well, pine cones come in different shapes and sizes, but they are all able to produce more pine trees. So just as pine cones can look a little bit different, sometimes we can look a little bit different, but we all have an important purpose to fulfill. So this is another one that can take on multiple different variations, and you can be as creative or as fun as you want. But basically, you're going to have your pine cones. You're going to need some kind of a baggie. I like Ziploc baggies. And then again, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can paint over your pine cone, or you can just glue over your pine cone. And then who doesn't love some glitter? So I like to have some glitter to put with the pine cone. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to put the glue over the bag. This way it doesn't get glue all over the everywhere. And we're going to just kind of dollop. If you want to use a paintbrush and paint over this, you certainly may. Or you can just randomly glue all over your pine cone. And then we're going to drop it in the bag. We're going to take our glitter and we're going to sprinkle the glitter dust all over the pine cone with the glue. Then this comes the fun part. You're going to seal it up and you're going to shake it up. And you're going to shake it so that the glitter gets all over your pine cone. Now, this is our elapsed time version. If you would like to, you can hang this up and tie a string around it. You can also make it extra fun by putting some little googly eyes. If you want to make a whole family of pine cone people, you can put some pom-poms, you can put some smiley faces, some puffy paint. You can get really super creative. You could even dress up your pine cones if you want to. And so I've got little baby pine cone and daddy pine cone here. And you can hang these up or you can sprinkle them around. You can attach a verse to remind yourself, of course, of why there are sparkly pine cones. And again, you can use paint or you can use glue or a variety of methods to make a fun, festive, sparkly pine cone giant seed. So have fun with those random crafts, and feel free to add, to subtract, to decorate, to do however you best prefer. But the important thing is that the kids have fun, that you have fun, and that you remember to go make some disciples. Have a great week. See you next time.